everybody, for those that don't know me, I'm Erin. I am the gamer vet on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch. I am a third-year veterinary student at Ross University, and then in the beginning of September, I start my clinical year at Louisiana State. So my last video was about how on social media and just in general, there's a trend of making fun of clients online, regardless of what industry you're in. I think it's just kind of a big theme that I've been seeing. So originally I had this idea, but I felt like that video needed its own focus. So this one is kind of based off a blog article I wrote where it just says, can we be nice to clients? And it goes back and forth, right? It goes both ways. It's asking us to be nicer to clients, but also clients to be nicer to your veterinary professionals. And I know in certain situations, high stress, very emotional situations, sometimes it's hard for us, for everybody. We kind of let our emotions take hold and we don't always know what we're saying, which is totally understandable. But for me, in general, people come into the clinic when they can and when they're able. They bring their animals to us when they're sick. Sometimes it's for yearly exams, things like puppies, and it's very happy. But for me, who worked in emergency, most of the time when we saw them, they were really sick. And we don't know what else is going on with the client. They don't know what else is going on with us. And I think that's a big issue that kind of divides us, because most of us can go into a room and we go in one way because we have a way that works for us. We go in, we communicate, we come out, but not everybody receives information the same way. And it's the same with clients communicating to us. I feel that we kind of have to think about it before we go in. And not that I'm saying clients need to have an understanding of medical jargon and be able to use those types of terms with us, but it's a way of portraying information in a way that the other person can listen. And the other person needs to make an effort to not just hear what the person is saying, but to actually listen to what they're saying, read their body language, allow them to finish their sentences. There's a lot of different things that go into that. And for me, the bottom line, just like my other video, is education. And educating clients is a huge passion of mine. I think that it can make the world of difference because people do things the way that they know how. And if no one's told them different, if no one has corrected the things that they're doing wrong in a way that they explain it, right? You can't just tell someone, that's wrong, don't do it. Would you stop doing what you're doing just because someone said stop? Some people might, but without context, without knowing what I'm doing wrong, why it's wrong, and why what I should be doing is better, I'm not always going to be inclined to make those changes. The biggest thing is explaining to clients why we have to do the things that we do, why we're recommending diagnostics, why things cost the way they do, why the animal has to be sedated for specific procedures, and why we need to get information from them. You know, like, we need to know if your dog ate something, even if it was an accident. We don't care. We're not there to judge, and we shouldn't judge regardless of what they ate. If they ate drugs, if they ate your medication that you left out, you accidentally got lilies in your house and your cat ate them, you know, you left a corn cob out and the dog ate corn cob, or you intentionally gave them a dog bone not knowing the issues that it has the potential to cause. All of this is fine. Accidents happen, things happen. But when clients bring their animals to us, we have to make them feel better about coming to us and less about what they did wrong. The other thing is not knowing what the other person is going through. As a client, you will walk into a room having no idea what I'm going through. I'm pretty good myself at hiding anything that I'm going through to my clients. I will feed off of what you are feeling. I'm very empathetic. So if you're sad, I'm going to feel that with you. But as far as my own thing, my own issues, something that may have happened in a previous case, I do something that my mom taught me to do, is you kind of put all that in a box and you put it on a shelf, because we don't always have time to process things. Clients as well. We don't always have time to process the information that we're given right away. And it's okay to go back to that. It's okay to put it aside and go back to that. We just have to make sure that we do go back to it to process things appropriately so we continue to do our day and our job the way that we should be doing it. Regardless of when a client comes in, they're bringing their animal to us. So whether we think that they waited too long, or they didn't realize it was an emergency and we knew that it was, right? People can't come into our clinics and feel judged. And for me, that's a huge issue. And I can't say that I never did it, because earlier in my career, I'm very guilty of it. Funny things that someone said, or maybe something that was common sense to me wasn't common sense to the other person, but in my mind it should have been. And then I just kind of changed my way of thinking when I had a realization that not everybody knows the same things that we know. Half of the stuff I know, I wouldn't unless I was in this industry. And many clients obviously are not in the industry. Some are, obviously, but we can't penalize somebody or make them feel bad for waiting, for not noticing something, for not knowing something is an emergency, or doing something that someone else told them to do, when none of us, previous vet, whoever they've seen before, when we haven't taken the time to let them know why it's wrong and explain in a very neutral, positive way what to change and the better way to do it. Another thing is tone, right? People are very sensitive to the tone of your voice. Not everybody, but a lot of people are. So even if you think that you're hiding your emotion on your face, your body language and your tone can speak more than that. And we have to be cognizant of that, and we have to make an effort to kind of take a breath and go into a room with a neutral opinion. Don't go into a room, if an animal ate narcotics, automatically judging that owner. That's a pretty common one. But I'm sober. I'm 12 years sober. So that aspect of life, I understand. And to think, if I was that person coming into a vet hospital, and you can feel the judgment. When people judge you, you can feel it. It's not as like under the table as you might think. So I know that aspect of it. And my thing is they brought the dog in. They're here. They want their dog to get help. It's the same for dogs that go hunting. Not everybody agrees with hunting. Sometimes the animals get injured, but they bring them in to help them. So don't judge them for what they're doing. Base your judgment off the actions of them coming into the vet hospital, right? Judging isn't really the right word, and it's not the word that I want to use, but I don't really know what else to do it. But that's a place to do a positive judgment, like, wow, they brought their animal in. That's so awesome. You know, this animal means so much to them that they brought them to us. They didn't just try to fix it at home. You know, and that's a different way of thinking. It's finding the positive in a situation instead of dwelling on a negative, because you could sit there and be in the back of the hospital and dwell on, oh, they took the dog hunting, that's so irresponsible. The dog got shot or got hurt by a bear or a cougar or a boar or whatever. But that doesn't do any good, right? That doesn't help anybody in these situations. So judgment is the biggest thing for me. And part of it is that we just don't know anything about that person, and a lot of the times we don't have time to really get to know them and what they're going through. So I try to go in with a blank slate, and I do try to get to know them in a way as long as I have time. Myself, I'm able to pick up little things just because I'm highly empathetic. So there are things that I'm able to pick up, and I feel very strongly that this is something people should practice. There's always so much more information than what the client's telling us. They're not going to be telling us what's going on in their life. They're not going to tell us they didn't bring their dog in because they just lost their husband or their sister and they've had to pay for funeral arrangements. They're not going to tell us that they just got laid off. Some do. I'm going to sneeze. Oh. Some people might give us this information, but if they don't, we have no idea why they've waited, or why they can't afford something, even after we explain to them why it's necessary. And my dog is eating a hoof, so he might make some noise, I'm sorry. And they do get mad when we can't do things for free. And that's a whole nother video. And clients, comment down below with your questions and concerns, because they are something I want to address when I do that video. But especially when something is life and death or very serious with a pet, it's really hard for the owner to comprehend what's going on. When something is traumatic, you often don't hear everything, right? It goes in one out the ear, goes in one ear and out the other. And also sometimes you might just completely forget something that you were told. So making yourself available to help the client, whether it's after hours, they book another appointment, finding a technician or someone else that's available to really sit down with them if you have to go into another appointment, or sending them home with information about the diagnosis, about the procedures that we're recommending, why we recommend them, and the prices that they are. You can print off an entire estimate and go through it one by one and show them exactly what we need to do, why we need to do it, and how much it costs. So a few things that I feel very strongly about as far as what I think we as an industry, clients and vets, need to improve on. Obviously not everything applies to every person, but the general theme of this video is to just be nicer to each other and give each other the benefit of the doubt. It really does piggyback on my other video, but this is equally as important, and I wanted something to focus on the communication and the teamwork aspect of client and vet. One thing I think that a lot of vets are scared to do is encouraging their clients to get a second opinion. Often clients may not understand what we tell them because they don't understand how we're explaining it. I think it's reasonable to encourage them to get a second opinion, especially if it's something serious, because if they like you as their veterinarian and they trust you, they'll come back to you. But I think we don't do that because we fear losing that client. But if we're not the right vet for them and they feel better with another vet, we just want the best care for their animal. So if we lose them as a client, obviously that's unfortunate, but they need to be able to feel like they can ask questions, whether it's to you or to someone else. So I think we should be able to encourage them to do this if they don't feel comfortable with the explanation that we're giving. Not everybody will agree with this, but hearing it from a second person, especially if you're pretty sure that the vet is going to say the same things that you did, hearing it from someone else, just like in your family or in your relationship, if I hear something from my boyfriend, but then I hear it from my mom or one of my best friends, I might be like, oh yeah, this is a great idea. And he looks at me like, I already told you that, you know? And sometimes it's the same thing. Sometimes it's just hearing something from someone other than the first person that told you. And so I think we need to stop being scared of even recommending that our clients get a second opinion and letting them know that it's okay, because it means you're comfortable with them and with your opinion and with what your plan is to do, to allow them to go and talk to someone else. So listening is the next thing. I find that especially if there is judgment or frustration, which in any business or industry where there's communication amongst two different people from two vastly different areas, there's going to be frustration because the way I explain something, the other person may not understand, and vice versa. I might not be understanding what the client's trying to tell me because I'm not the client. And so I think the biggest thing that I've learned here is I'm a big interrupter. I like to kind of jump in so I don't forget something. So I've started writing down. If I have an idea or a question, I start writing it down, because the owner needs to be able to get their entire thought process out. And I do as well. So if I'm talking and I get interrupted, I'm gonna completely lose my train of thought. That's how my brain works. I have ADHD. So if I'm interrupted, it takes me a minute to get back to where I was. So clients and vets, allow each other the time to finish your thought, because I find that a lot of the explanation will get lost if we're constantly interrupting each other. And if the client isn't understanding what you're saying, try to reword it or think of a different way to say it, because they just may not be comprehending the way that you're saying something, whether it's using medical jargon or maybe too simple, because sometimes you really have to break it down, because there are so many aspects of what we do that clients just don't understand. Another thing about kind of waiting is, and allowing the client to talk and giving them a second before you start speaking, especially if you interrupt them, you may not hear a concern that they have because they may get distracted by the interruption, forget it, or you may make them feel that it's not important because you're cutting them off in the sentence that they're saying. So if that happened to me, I would be like, okay, well, whatever else I have to say doesn't matter. They don't need to hear the rest of what I need to say. Hello. Another thing is supporting each other. Clients and vets. Clients, try to support your vets by letting them know that you do value their opinion. You know, I know it can be hard when things aren't easy to understand. And vets, same thing. You know, you have to let your clients know that their feelings are valid, right? Because if we're constantly interrupting them or dismissing something that they say, they're definitely going to feel like we're not listening to them. I know we all hate Dr. Google, and that's a big thing that happens, but there are valid resources online. And sometimes clients have found a resource, something a previous veterinarian has written, or even if it's something we don't really think is going to work or we think is kind of bogus, don't just dismiss it and be like, oh yeah, that doesn't work or that's not right. Make sure to explain it and say, you know, like, I've heard about that. There's not a lot of merit to it. You know, this is what we recommend. This is why we recommend it. This is why it's better over the thing that you found. But you can tell them, you know, I'm happy to look into it. Validate their feelings and their questions. Even if you know, or you feel that you know that what you want to do is the correct thing to do, to validate someone's feelings brings a level of trust that a lot of times I don't think we have. Give clients time. And this kind of goes into non-interrupting, whatever it is, but sometimes try to read the room, because there may be times in the conversation where a client just kind of needs to sit and process. Especially if it's bad news, sometimes people need a second. They need a second to think. And a lot of things are going to go through their head. Their life with their pet is going to go through their head. What they've done is going to go through their head. Could they have done something different? Could they have done something better? What did they do wrong? I guarantee these are all thoughts people have when they get bad news about their animals. So make sure to give them time to process and allow them to process, and don't rush them to make a decision, which I don't think many of us do. I know the big issue is that we don't have a lot of time. Just like human MDs, we have 20 to 30 minutes for an appointment. So if the goal of what you want to do, or the client doesn't feel supported yet and they need more support and more communication on the situation, encourage them to book another appointment or schedule a phone call with them after hours or on another day. Unless it's an absolute emergent situation, they have to make the decision right then and there, which obviously is very unfortunate. But if it's a diagnosis that a day or two can wait, or even, you know, a week, give them a day or two to process what's going on. I know that we want clients to be able to make decisions right away and do what's right for their pet right away, but some people just aren't able to make decisions like that without processing the information. I'm pretty sure that if I got a negative diagnosis about my animal, even being in this industry, I would probably take a day to figure out what I wanted to do. Unless it was obviously I needed to make the decision right then and there, or he was gonna die. That's a different situation. But if it's a diagnosis or something that requires intensive treatment, clients have to decide if the lifelong treatment is something that they can commit to. And that's another thing we need to make them aware of, and make it okay that they take the time to figure it out, and to not shame them for not being able to do it. Even in cases of diabetes, diabetes is a very intensive disease. It requires a lot of care, and there are owners that just aren't able to provide that care, whether it's an emotional or physical capacity. It's not our place to judge, but we need to make sure we let them know it's okay to figure those things out. Clients, if you have questions, please ask us. If you're not understanding something, even if you think that we think it's a simple concept, ask a question. We want to help you. We want you to ask us questions so we can help you better understand the situation. There are no dumb questions. I promise you that. If you feel silly, that's okay. I feel silly all the time. Fun story, when I was 20, my boyfriend at the time convinced me that there was an underwater tunnel to Hawaii from California and that we could drive there. And I was convinced that there was not. But he convinced me to a point where I ended up asking somebody if there was an underwater tunnel to Hawaii. So there you go. There's my my embarrassing story for the day. So there are no dumb questions. We want to help you. We want to make it so you can understand the way to care for your pet in the best way possible. We are always here for you. If you need to call your vet to have a phone consultation, a phone appointment, many veterinary hospitals do that. If you want to, I know there's telemedicine, which is a really cool thing that's happening. Do that, right? Make an appointment with that. And even if it's not something like treating or diagnosing, if you need to just talk to a vet about what's going on, that's what I'm talking about, getting a second opinion. Sometimes the way another vet might say things makes more sense to you than the one that told you the information, especially in emergency, because we're not the ones that you see all the time. Hopefully we're not your regular vet. So obviously we encourage you to talk about all these things with your regular veterinarian. Reviews and things like that are a completely separate subject and something that I'm happy to go into in another video when I'm not exhausted and not trying to get off this island. I'm busy with packing and everything right now. I think it's also an important thing, but the bottom line is we have to look at how we're interacting with each other. As veterinarians, we need to be patient with our clients, and as clients, we need you to be patient with us. We're doing the best that we can with the resources that we have, and we know you're doing the best that you can to give us the resources and the ability to do these things with your pet. Or the ideal plan that we have may not always be possible, and vets, we have to understand that. And clients know that it's okay because you're doing the best that you can, and that's all anybody can ask of any of us, right? We're all doing the best that we can. And I want to make sure that you understand what's going on with your pet. My big thing is I want to help educate. I want this to be a huge part of mending the issue that we all have with communication, because I feel that the key to everything is just miscommunication, a lack of understanding, and a lack of education. So I think we all need to work together to build a better bond with each other and to communicate better with each other. Clients, ask us questions. I know I just said this, but ask us questions. If you don't understand what the doctor's saying, tell them you need to take a minute and to ask them to explain it a different way. And vets, if you don't feel like you are able to explain it in a different way, find somebody that can. I guarantee there's other people in the hospital that are willing to jump in and help you. Technicians, if it's a situation where you don't feel like emotionally you're the right person to be there for the client, bring a technician that you know that's super empathetic into the room with you as support. I did that a lot. I enjoyed being in those situations because I know that I can make people feel better. I know that I can change the energy that I have to change the energy in the room and to match the energy in the room, so I'm able to be there for the client the best that I can. So this video hopefully is a little shorter than some of them. I tried to keep it on track and not make it too crazy long because I tend to ramble and that's what I do. But I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If there's anything that anybody wants to add, please comment down below. This is not a place to bash people. This is not for bullying. This is not to tell stories about clients, unless it's positive. But if there's something that you've experienced negatively, both client or vet, and it's a situation that you think needs to be talked about, comment down below, because people need to understand what we go through, both clients and vets, and explaining what's happening, explaining the feelings we go through with a euthanasia or a high stress situation. Those are all things that it's hard to make people understand how you're feeling, because it's not their responsibility. Our feelings are our responsibility, but to help people understand those feelings is a kind of a task, and it's not always that easy to do. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. My next one is probably going to be my goodbye video to my island home. I'm very sad about that, but I will be documenting my move to Louisiana, me and Bo heading through the airport on Tuesday. It's going to be an interesting thing. He's a nervous boy. He keeps me calm and keeps my anxious down. Keeps me calm and keeps my anxiety down. But in turn, I'm kind of his emotional support, is what my mom says. But yeah, so comment down below any videos that you want to see, any comment or any ideas, things that you might be too scared to ask your actual vet. I'm happy to talk about it. There's no dumb question. I'm an open book. If you want to know more about my journey, whatever aspect of it is fine. I'm just glad that you guys stuck around. I hope everybody's liking my videos more and more. And like the video, comment, share it if you want, subscribe. I would love if you guys subscribed. And I can't wait to think of more content to create, but right now this was my focus. This is the video that started it all. This is why I wanted to make this channel. So my plan is to promote education, positivity, empathy, and just practicing being a better person, not just being a better doctor, but we all need to just practice being better people. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all the fun things below. I will have certain things linked down below. And if you need me to link something else, I don't know, something I've mentioned in the past in another video, comment. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.